because of Kanavi and Tien's proficiency on Qiyana and bringing it to the fourfold for a lot of the other LPL junglers. That champion has also been eating every single ban in almost every series we've seen since the second round.
Aurora taken away. Rumble ban has to be questioned here for AL. I think this ends up being a Rumble opener with that Aurora ban. Also, Talia's kind of fallen off a little bit in value and priority, but I still think a very big champion for Scout and JDG if they want to rock that one, as it is tied for his most played. So Rumble banned away with Aurora now off the board. I think you're looking at Talia or Rise in the mid lane, and Scout's going to actually take the Rise.
While it's not the Talia, it still offers a little bit of that global pressure with a Realm Warp, and it does give you opportunities to at least scale up and be a huge team fighting threat. I think Galio, though, is a big threat that anyone's legend can take away from JDG. I think some of JDG's best games historically have been when Scout has been on Galio. Taking it out of this Fearless best of 5 is going to limit the options for JDG later on in the series.
So look, like Galio versus Rise theory. Galio can play really fast on the map, and you can pressure Rise early on. You can buffer the Empowered Rune Prison with a Justice Punch if you're on point. That really changes up that mid lane matchup. And I just don't agree with them first picking the Rise with the Galio up. I think this really builds for... I mean, JDG, like, you kind of have to opt for playing late now. And you have to, like, draft the rest of your draft around that. And with Rise and Xayah, Rakan's to be picked up. Rakan has been a really successful support so far in playoffs. I think it's worth noting Rakan's 10-2 coming into this game across all of LPL playoffs. But this is a low-range comp, and I know that AL is already showing dive early on, but if I'm AL now, what can I find later on in this draft that might be able to pressure the Rise or pressure the Xayah, where they might not be able to freely auto? I think Ezreal ban is a must from JDG here with that in mind. And I think about taking away maybe a Jhin as well.
Yeah, take away the long-range options that can pressure Peyz on this Xayah without being in range to get completely shredded by the feathers themselves. JDG still have yet to lock in their top laner and their jungler for Xiaoxu and Xun respectively. The Kai'Sa is an option that I wasn't thinking of personally,
that's
but I guess later on the Void Seekers can get very oppressive.
It's like dive overload, you know? Yeah. Also, it's Hope's Kai'Sa. And important to note, second game in a row, we have seen that Cassante denied by from Xiaoxu. His Cassante is very good. And it's one of his most played champs. So, gonna probably be left with an Ornn. As I mean, Ezreal doesn't get a lot of push early on, so if they want to use that to like try and find stuff later on, that's doable. We have seen Ezreal or Kalista Renata kind of come back into Xayah Renata, if that's the case. See if that ends. I mean, that's the range. That's the range.
Yeah. I like this pick for anyone's legend if they lock in the Ziggs for themselves. If you want to be able to pressure this short range composition from JDG, chuck a Mega Inferno Bomb from a screen away.
This is why I just don't like the opener of Rise and Xayah Rakan. You are showing a lack of range so early on in the draft. It allows for like identities to be formed later on. So for me, Renekton brings a lot of strength in the top side. He's going to be that meatball. Aatrox, of course, I mean, it's not the best matchup. You can play it. Aatrox is more so being picked up because he can be effective in a Galio, and there is no marksman in the game, so that Ziggs damage is kind of going to the wayside later on. Aatrox doesn't really care about that, right? If you have 3 points in ultimate, you're hitting sweet spots, Ziggs damage is negligible, as long as you don't get one shot.
What is Shun's answer
That's the
here?
pick. That's the pick.
Yeah, just go for the early skirmisher. Not only that you'll be able to at least have some priority over the Wukong early on with a little bit more reliable CC pre-level 6, but also the Crescent Guard at least blocks them in that long-range damage. I'm still with you, though, Matt, because overall, the way that anyone's legend has been able to answer what JDG showed early on now just puts JDG in this...
Yeah, play Nautilus. It's a Nautilus game. Just use that to find pressure. It's another tool to take away the ultimate from Xayah. Because Xayah, I mean, obviously Xayah, very strong anti-dive champion with the rip, the ability to go up in the air. But that cooldown, especially rank 1, is insanely long. And so if you can find any tools to take away Flash, take away the rip, I mean, think of all the tools that AL has on their end to at least try and take some of those tools out of the pool. Whether that's Ziggs damage, whether that's just Galio, like Flash threatening, or a depth charge, or a Wukong combo, or even Renekton finding the backline. I think Peyz is going to be under a lot of pressure. Xayah is a fantastic champion for Peyz, but I don't love what JDG is showing early on. I think that the Galio can really enable the Wukong to get ahead or stay ahead of the Xin Zhao. Wukong very much out-farms that matchup, or outscales that matchup, he can also really pressure Xayah later on. That clone and the knockups can be enough sometimes, just get around those rips to really try and find the pressure. So, I don't like Rakan in the Galio Nautilus. Like, I don't think you get to function this game as Rakan, playing a Renekton, Wukong, Galio Naut. So, I do not like this draft from JDG.
I think the biggest problem is that JDG were trying to give a lot of grace to Xun in being able to find a more comfortable pick towards the B4, B5 stage, and it just, the fact that it ends up just being a Xin Zhao instead feels like we lost a lot of priority in giving Peyz something a bit better to answer in what anyone's legend is going to draft, and now it pigeonholed him and set him up to potentially fail, because now there is so many dive options that can preemptively burn that Featherstorm, as you called out. Peyz has to rely on everyone else from his team to peel for him so that he is not put in a position that pretty much threatens his life. But we're going to see how it all unfolds here, Matt, between JDG and anyone's legend as we hit Summoner's Rift for Game 2. Maybe a level 1 here. Zhuo is able to get the grand entrance over the wall, but if Kael wants to send it with the dredge line, snags him. Zhuo shouldn't be forced to use the flash early on, but he's going to take a lot of damage and force to recall early.
Oh, some good wall tech there in order to use the wall. What isn't the insta-Q into the auto? We'll say, interested to see that graph actually supporting AL later on. Again, I think that AL, like, this is a comp where you do not have a traditional marksman. That will be the advantage that Peyz and JDG can have later on in this game. I think it really has to come down to some of these executes from AL, especially early on. Think of the strength of Renekton, Galio, Ziggs around a Grubs fight, or around some of these early dragons, and their ability to zone out Ryze and Xayah. I think it's very important that AL uses pushed waves to get the objectives first. Walking through minefields and through those bouncing bombs is way different than you know, trying to use those tools to take back space on the objectives. So I think it's important that AL, you know, they get ahead, they start winning early.
We know that Peyz is a fantastic Xayah player. We saw an example of it in their series against Weibo Gaming. Multiple times he had been able to wait until the right moments where Renekton flashed for the stun. He's able to pop the Featherstorm in just the right frame. But how are you supposed to time out Renekton flash stun, Cyclone from Wukong,
yeah,
follow-up from Galio? There's so much overload on the dive threats. We cannot overemphasize enough that Peyz is really having to not just rely on his own skills, but also everyone else from JDG to bail him out.
And I don't love the tools they took. Like, I know that Xiaoxu can do some work on this Aatrox in the fight, but this Aatrox is going to be behind, and it's not like it's an Ornn, where you could be playing Ornn in the game with no marksman. I mean, I was kind of surprised that it wasn't just Ornn coming through, because that would help create more space for the Xayah than an Aatrox for me. So, kind of interesting. Again, I do think that if this game goes really late, AL could suffer from the lack of not having a marksman. I think that execution going to be a little bit harder for them later on, just with no marksman, as sometimes that DPS can solve a lot of your problems in fights. And if they take an undisciplined fight, JDG will out-DPS them heavily later on. But the bursts around some of their spells and some of the tools they have, very real. See if AL can make the best of it in this one.
Yep. And I like that you highlighted that anyone's legend would love to at least get ahead early so that they can really empower a lot of the strengths that they have with some of these untraditional picks. Obviously, Ziggs has been picked multiple times in the bot lane before, but when you do not have a marksman, you still have siege strength in the power of Ziggs' passive. But you need to be able to get ahead, prioritize those grubs so that you can overemphasize the ability to take out those turrets and get a lot of free standing gold quickly to put yourself in a better position for that mid game.
Speaking of better position for mid game, Flandre already yoinked a point with the Demolish. It's kind of funny up there. And they could look here.
Oh no, Xiaoxu. Tarzan clones in. There's no CC from the Wukong, but there's a lot of damage, and Xiaoxu respects it. Flashes away.
Yeah, gonna get his flash. This is a matchup that Renekton can win. So good to see a little bit of pressure come down to try and help with that. As Flandre, definitely expect for him to be ahead early on in this matchup. Just the healing you get from Renekton is kind of tough for an Aatrox to deal with. Ooh. Kind of messed up
does manage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that Xiaoxu sustains himself enough that he's not forced to use the TP early on, despite the gank, it's pretty good state for this Aatrox right now.
Oh, that's big. I mean, the way that you can get ahead in this matchup is if... I mean, he's going to have to match the TP, but still, Flandre didn't go offensive at all on Renekton. He went Ruby Crystal and Cloth Armor, which... little interesting. Sometimes you are able to one-shot Renekton in this one, but I think that's just very clear given the build that the focus is on the bot lane, and understandably so. The setting behind the singular marksman in this game, definitely going to be a big mission for AL.
We haven't had or seen an opportunity for Shun to get aggressive here on the bottom side. He has decent setup between both Peyz and Zhuo, who have CC at their disposal if they are able to land it here. And Tarzan, like we said before, this Wukong, the one benefit that you have as the Xin Zhao into the Wukong matchup is you have CC pre-level 6. Edgeline does connect onto Peyz. Heal is expended. Shun is coming around the corner. Dashes on the Kael, flashes away. He follows up, but I don't think he's going to get the 3-talent strike onto him, so he just looks for hope. But a lot of the damage has already been expended by JDG because Peyz was chunked out of the fight.
Yeah, Peyz is too low. JDG, all they can do with this wave is just try and get it in, get Peyz the winning reset, and that's it. So, sums out of Kael, who has a spellbook. Could be better, could be worse.
I don't know if this is 2020 in hindsight, Matt, but I feel like if you are Xin Zhao, you should be pressuring the Ziggs early on and not trying to take out the Nautilus. I know.
Yeah, I mean, the Naut was the one who was low, and I think he's just trying to prep 3-talent strikes.
Sure.
I mean, at least he got sums out. Like, Ziggs wasn't in reach. So you don't want to, like, get hooked and take 3 damage. I just think that, like, with how Peyz got low so early, there just was no real play there for Shun. It mostly just ended up being a prank and helping Peyz get a good reset, which he got value off of, but now these swaps are a little bit awkward as Scout finds himself bot and can take a lot of damage here. Peyz Rush gets him out.
Yep. The movement speed from the Keystone is enough for him to disengage from the trade before Tarzan is able to get in range, which he's level 6, by the way, so Cyclone is available. This is a very scary Wukong, and the fact that he's able to get that ultimate before Shun even hits level 6. He knows he has priority from bot lane. It should be a free Drake time.
What I was talking about last game was how Grubs are the priority, and a lot of teams, they're using their stronger early games to take Grubs over Drake. Well, the way to break that is to take Drake before the Grubs spawn. AL definitely are showing enough early game and have enough winning matchups where they can for sure do this. And that's not to mention just Tarzan having a 1-camp lead, because that 1 camp, well, it netted him 6. Shun's still fishing for his on the top side. He is going to kill the blue buff, which does get him 6, but a little bit too little too late for the Drake, as that goes to the side of Tarzan and AL.
I mean, the efficiency that Tarzan has historically had as a jungler is just so unparalleled by a majority of the junglers here in the LPL. We know that Shun at his ceiling has been able to tango with some of the best of them, but Tarzan really does feel like one of the big raid bosses in this lower bracket. JDG,
he's an LPL raid boss, man.
Yeah. I mean, listen, credit to JDG that they overcame Weibo, who sent Anyone's Legend to the lower bracket in the first place, but that was not the same Anyone's Legend that we're now seeing in the past 2 best of 5s.
100% agree. I will say on the top side, I don't love how Flandre is like playing out the 1v1. I think that he's had a lot of trouble getting that wave all the way in against the Aatrox, and he's gonna need to at least find some sort of prio here, because the focus is on this top side. As the Grubs are being started, AL spot this. It's gonna be 1 going over to JDG for sure. Shun saves his smite, so can pressure another one. As Flandre again is, I mean, the wave's frozen on him, and his conditions are not good.
Chunked out here. Shun can at least look for the smite onto the second Grub. Tarzan is able to burn it down and conserves his smite. Yeah, who's going to get it? 1,300 HP. It's a 900 smite fight, and Tarzan is successful with it. Engaged with the Cyclone, Mega Inferno Bomb over the top, and even though Flandre was chunked out of the fight, he still got the dominance, and that's a big team fight win for Anyone's Legend, as JDG is sent fleeing for the hills. Scout comes in with the flash, tries to root up Tarzan, but the heroic entrance from Shanks allows him to save his jungler, and Peyz is under fire, forced to flash away from Shanks.
Good takeaway on the flash, and again, JDG, they contest an objective, lose out on it, and they were setting up in drafts, Raafaa. This is not a winning fight for them. The fact that they're trying to sign up for it, I mean, I'm super down to take 1 Grub away. I don't think you can take a fight away, though, from AL. And even in spite of Renekton conditions, which were not great, Flandre was still able to have an impact on the fight, be that strong Renekton at Grubs, and AL just find themselves further and further ahead.
Yeah, low-key, after this point, I thought you just collapse onto Flandre where the weaker side of the flank is, but they just opt into the AoE.
Yeah, I mean, Peyz, he does his best to get out of here. I think that the E is well positioned. It just doesn't find a really significant rip. And then, I mean, Scout flashed in and instantly had to walk out as he kind of blew his flash for nothing because Peyz lost his flash in the end anyway. And now AL, I mean, we talked about, you know, the Galio into the Rise. Galio wants to play fast. You can pressure the Rise. You can just... I mean, Rise builds double scaling items. Galio doesn't. You're just a more effective champion early on. You can throw your weight around early on in a way that Rise can't deal with. And I'm staring down the barrel of AL, and that's all I'm thinking about now in this early game. There's no way this Dragon's going to be contestable for JDG with no flash mid, no flash AD. You're down 2 Drakes. You're down Grubs. You're down 1k gold. Like, what was the idea of this draft for JDG? I mean, I know we can get back in later on, but there are a bajillion tools to take away the Xayah ult. And we saw Peyz have difficulty early on in that fight, just let alone. I mean, JDG was weaker, but we saw how if you spread out those tools for AL, you can start to dwindle the resources of Peyz. He did lose out on his ult and flash in the end.
When we saw JDG find surprise wins in their previous series, it was bold, aggressive plays, and they had no hesitation in making them. I see a lot more hesitation and a lot more insecurity. Hang on, though. Shun onto the top side. Flashes and commits into Flandre for this kill. He has no flash available, should be one more on attack, and it's the Darkened Blade from Xiaoxu that claims his first kill of the game.
I mean, that's a pickup, but meanwhile, on the flip side, you have the Ziggs deleting the wave, and I don't know if they can group recall, as Hope should be able to stop him.
Scout has Realm Warp, but he is not being given a chance to join. He's able to bypass Shanks, but the heroic entrance is still available. Now Scout is cut off.
He's dead.
The taunt is going to land onto a flashless Rise, and anyone's legend take the freebie for the feat of warfare.
Oh, Scout, more like scoot his way onto the gray screen as he realm warps down bot, gets out-roamed by the Galio, and it's not a bot dive, but it's still a positive play as they remove the mid laner, the double scaling items mid laner that needs time to, you know, build up, scale up. That's now being delayed, so they keep Peyz alive, but it's still pretty expensive in order to do so for JDG.
We didn't get a chance to touch upon this early on, Matt, but when we looked at the struggling season of JDG, especially in Split 3, even early on in Split 2, a lot of JDG's foundation has to be set up from Scout, one of the most veteran members of this squad. There have been so many puzzling rotations made by this guy that has completely compromised JDG's position in the early game.
And look, I was early to the train of it in Split 2. I was watching games like, dude, like, what's going on with Scout, right? And we're just playing for so many side waves that we don't need. And now I feel the same way with Scout. Like, I mean, it got a wee bit better in Split 3, but we have still seen so many holes in this mid laner's play, who has been such a hero for the LPL historically. I mean, he's the guy that won Worlds for EDG, right? He's the guy that was, you know, bringing teams to Worlds with his play. You're looking at past Worlds runs that he was able to pull off with teams like, what, LNG, right? So I think that Scout, I mean, again, this was a best of 5 coming in where Shanks is the better mid laner. And that was not the opinion that people had at the start of the year, given the pedigree of Scout and these players, but it's what has been earned by each of the players from what we've seen in the Rift this year.
And for JDG fans, they saw glimmers of hope where Scout was actually able to perform to his former peak in some of the series that JDG won against EDG, against Weibo Gaming. He's able to step up and match Xiaoxu and match Angel, who are longtime historical mid laners for the LPL. And I imagine that JDG fans going into this best of 5, they knew Scout's follies in Split 3, in Split 2, but they were hoping that he would at least lock in for a majority of the series. And right now, the first 2 games between the Orianna build and now the early mishaps on this Rise, it's not looking good for JDG.
Oh, Scout's going to need to step up. As, I mean, again, this for JDG, this is really big for their Worlds opportunities. I mean, they're seeded into the regional gauntlet bracket at the moment. They need more wins to try and get themselves out of there. But frankly, I mean, they really have to pull off a miracle, it feels like, to get an auto-qualifying seed. It's pretty much just going to require winning the split, right?
Yep.
But
yeah, that is the only way.
That's the only way. So, yeah, for JDG, but, like, that difference in the regional bracket, we talked about it with that upper seed versus the lower seed. If you're in that upper bracket, BO5, of course, 4 teams playing the regional gauntlet, If you're in the upper one, you have 2 chances to make worlds. If you're in the lower one, you have to win 2 best of 5s in a row to make worlds. And that's a really big difference.
Oh, look at that. Peyz immediately respecting Tarzan to be able to send it with the Cyclone. It's just forced to use the Featherstorm. And that's so big because Tarzan didn't even have to use anything there.
And think about the setup that we had earlier in the day, Raafaa. It was Peyz and Tarzan, the 2 highest performers on these teams, respectively. It was game 1, mid lane, round level 9, where Tarzan was able to get the best of Peyz with a kill that he had, Poppy versus Corki. Now it's him getting that ult out for free. And again, talk about how long that cooldown is. I mean, that's like nearly a 3-minute cooldown when you're looking at Xayah ult. So Peyz gonna have a lot of waves now where he can be attacked.
I mean, he's got Flash Cleanse, but Cleanse does not do anything for you when you're getting knocked up by Justice Punch, Cyclone, Depth Charge from Kael. Hell, a Satchel Charge could pretty much set you up to die. JDG have an opportunity trying to burn the Rift Herald, but they're on full vision doing this, and anyone's Legend should have the opportunity to collapse.
Interesting force here by JDG. I mean, Tarzan still has ultimate. They're going to try and get him out of the pit first. But
Tarzan forced to use the Cyclone, Mega Inferno Bomb over the top, but Shun blocks it with a Crescent Guard. 1500 HP on the Rift Herald. It resets, and now everyone is slamming each other into the pit. Tarzan is the first one to die. Xiaoxu with the World Ender. He spreads his demonic wings. Wait a minute, the Darkened Blade can find redemption for JDG as Flandre's cut off for the rest of the team. JDG, it didn't look good, but they force it anyway, and they come out on top.
Nice escape by Hope, but the Aatrox ends up coming up big. As talked about, Aatrox in a game where there is no marksman, and frankly, the damage that could threaten Aatrox there, it wasn't there. Flandre was not in the pit. He kind of TP'd outside of it and just took a lot of damage. Hope blew his cooldowns early. They were on Xin Zhao, which was unwarranted as Shun popped the ult and got out of the Super Mega Inferno Bomb damage. And that was a oopsie of a fight there from AL. So good punish from JDG. Again, I highlighted that this team comp can scale as time goes on. There's no marksman on the side of AL, and this is not the fight that you want as AL. I feel like this is not a fight where it's cleanly taken on their terms. It's Tarzan entering the back of the pit, trying to play this, and they're not fighting on the carries. They're fighting on the front line, the exact fight that Aatrox wants, as Xiaoxu bought so much time here. With Zhuo, had a really good grand entrance, and Xiaoxu with the Sundered Sky just started pumping out damage on this Aatrox. And there was no Flandre there to really deal with him, and Tarzan was taken down first, and the Galio just gets absolutely melted by Aatrox. So, yeah, that was a rough fight by AL. I think that Tarzan needs to play that one slower. He needs to either get out of the pit once Shun hops on him and seed it from there, or they have to at least set up a fight where they can play for the carries and aren't on the retake. Because Hope was retaking there. You want to have Ziggs set up and have Xayah have the Rise walk through that damage.
Yeah, that was the big thing for me, right? Just watching back the replay, Hope was completely isolated. He throws the Mega Inferno Bomb. That's all he can contribute. He can't get into the back of the pit. Shun with the Crescent Guard mitigates all the range damage and any threat that Hope has on to the Xin Zhao in the fight. And anyone's Legend, if they continue being disconnected, well, it doesn't matter what we set up for the win conditions of this competition.
Again, like it's one marksman versus no marksman. You don't want to give that marksman a DPS fight. With Ziggs, you want to use your range, your control in order to control the Xayah that does get outranged by everything that you have. But if you play into the Aatrox, that's kind of what you're asking for.
Anyone's Legend and JDG tussle in the mid lane, and exhaust is thrown onto Xiaoxu's Aatrox as they are able to at least get the guaranteed charge onto the mid tier 1. It does not knock it down. But JDG have position, trying to contest for the third dragon of the game.
Redemption already gone from JDG. That means that whatever poke damage Hope's able to connect with might stick now.
JDG try to start up the dragon right now. Anyone's Legend looking for the retake. Realm Warp from Scout tries to rejoin the fight here. Crescent Guard pushes them away. Decent damage onto Kael. Xiaoxu pops the World Ender, gets the first reset thanks to Peyz being able to knock down the Nautilus. And the rest of JDG just return to the Dragon Pit, look for the guarantees secure on this objective as the rest of anyone's Legend forfeit the fight.
Flandre has just not been in the mix of these fights. Like, we've seen 2 fights that have been dog piles. I don't think that's exactly what AL wants. Like, they want this play pattern where you're walking in the Ziggs. But Flandre, I mean, it's been Xiaoxu in the mix and Flandre not in the mix. And that's a big difference. I mean, you're each playing a different iteration of a brawler top laner. We've seen how effective Xiaoxu is. I feel like Renekton's the one that has to, pressure and put down the damage. But he checks out of the flank. It's kind of a weird one. As, again, I guess he failed the dash over. And then flashes over. No. Oh, yeah. Well, okay, that explains that. Again, I think if Flandre actually gets involved there, it's a good fight. But that was a stinker of a fight from Flandre. I think you need to lead with Flash, because Shun dies if you lead with Flash. Then you get 2 E's in order to find the execute afterwards.
I know that there's been a lot of burden onto Peyz' shoulder this series, but I think one of the things we highlighted that not only Zhuo was pretty active in the early game despite not having level 6 before Kael, I think Xiaoxu has also been one of the shining hopes for JDG. It wasn't apparent that that was going to be the case when we first came into Split 3 off of the roster swap, but even through all of the mishaps and the struggles that JDG has had, Xiaoxu has been one of the biggest surprises to come from this roster change. And here in playoffs, he is trying to do his best to hold the team together.
Honestly, I mean, it's been interesting kind of talking about this guy because it feels like he, more so plays the fighters and the tanks. And he's had some picks that he really, resonates with in terms of, I'm thinking of K'Sante specifically. I think he's looked pretty good in that champ, but he's kind of just been a spectator top lane. If he ends up having, a really pop-off performance against Flandre, I mean, just, again, the guy that was the top laner for Scout on that team, right? That had won with JDG. I mean, he is a legendary top laner in the LPL. This has been kind of a tough game from Flandre. I think that he didn't play the lane the strongest, and yeah, seeing that last fight, again, I think that Xin Zhao dies if Renekton leads with Flash and goes from there. Instead, try to go for the slice and dice, and hard to slice and dice through rocks. It's not exactly something you can pull off in the kitchen.
Nope.
I need some industrial grade Renekton for that. I feel like he's a prehistoric croc, not really fitting of the era.
I mean, a part of me believes that Anyone's Legend took this Renekton pick as a denial from Xiaoxu because his most picked champions in Split 3 and the ones they won the most on were both Renekton and K'Sante. They banned the K'Sante to deny it in this game 2 as a matchup into the Renekton, and now it's going to be gone for the rest of Fearless. Scout could be in trouble here. Phase Rush gives him a decent movement speed buff, but no one from Anyone's Legend could really threaten on the pick there. Redemption from Zhuo heals him back to nearly full as the rest of JDG trying to take control on the top side of the river.
Pretty preemptive redemption. I mean, I think that if you're AL, again, you have redemption up, the enemy team doesn't. This is a real cooldown to fight around right now with just the strength of redemption on this patch. This thing will be nerfed for Worlds, but it's not nerfed for the LPL domestic finals. And yeah, it does some serious work. If I'm JDG, there's no chance that I touch Otacon before I have redemption coming back up cooldown. But hey, in game 1, they decided to fight Otacon being down to redemption in full. So we'll see if that actually has an impact on them. But yeah, AL with the redemption up themselves, I mean, that can neutralize a lot of the Otacon damage, not the resistance shred, but they're going to start this one up.
Control Ward at least sees that the Otacon has been started for JDG. Anyone's Legend burning this down.
Flandre based in TP. Xiaoxu base
coming in from Flandre.
No base from Xiaoxu. Yeah, Flandre was able to base. No base from the Aatrox. I don't know what the items are like, but that could have an impact.
Gotta be careful. Mega Inferno Bomb over the top. Decent damage on the Peyz.
Really good damage.
Otacon does reset a little bit on the HP, but it's still not back to full. It's still 6k
This is what they want.
HP.
They just want to pull it up north and try and force them to walk through Ziggs as much as possible.
He's popping the dominance, ready to threaten JDG from being able to enter into the pit. Big knockup there from Zhuo, tries to answer back, but here comes the heroic entrance from Shanks over the top. On top, Anyone's Legend is able to secure the Otacon. Xiaoxu now charges forward in the World Ender form, looking to see if he can catch anyone. The Flash Darkened Blade does not find anyone as Anyone's Legend makes the retreat happen. Peyz still pursuing alongside Zhuo. They've got them pinned in the corner, but there's no World Ender anymore for Xiaoxu. This is a big limit test. Xiaoxu not able to do it. Peyz now alone flashes away from the Justice Punch. Doesn't have enough damage. He cannot pump out enough feathers, and Anyone's Legend only drops 1, but the reward is $2,000 against JDG.
Scout sending the wave in. They're going to try and make this play. As
Tarzan, he had to flash onto Tarzan to force the recall from being interrupted. He's able to get a double. Scout is at least able to get 2 kills back into the pockets of JDG, and they'll take the turret in trade.
Shanks could look for the taunt to draw tower aggro. He does not. Great play from Scout to honestly salvage the play from JDG. I was fearing for JDG. They just played right into the win con of AL, which is walking into Ziggs. And honestly, that play, I think they lose out on soul point from it because this took too long. But this is Flandre getting in the mix, and this Renekton is very big at this point. Was able to buy so much time, buy so much space, and yes, he goes down, but it's for the Otacon, and JDG with a numbers advantage, they try and push up, but you're pushing up through a Ziggs. Hope is very big in this game. Look at Scout get chipped out. I love this angle from Shanks. Gets a Summoner Spell immediately away from Peyz. And Zhuo and Xiaoxu trying to send this is just way too far. Tarzan does a very good job of dancing around this fight. And Peyz can never truly get involved thanks to the damage from Hope and the zoning from Shanks.
JDG are the first ones into the river, but they can't rip the dragon quite yet. It's the 4th one of the game. If anyone's legend is able to find a secure onto it, it would put them at soul point. The experience lead. Not the hugest thing for the side of anyone's legend, despite picking up the Otacon. Surprisingly, JDG still able to match them, but JDG, can they find the fight there? 2,000 gold up, looking at Shanks. Big knock him onto the Galio. The flash from Kael kind of goes nowhere. Shun is able to buy some time with the Crescent Guard. Flandre goes in, pops the Serap's Cage. The first trade happens. It's 1 for 1 so far. Cyclone rips from Tarzan, but he's forced to retreat back. Joel and Peyz doing everything they can. Shanks pressuring, big rip with the Blade Collar. Shanks is forced to use the hero's entrance as a hero's retreat, but he's still not dead. And the Dragon still at 7,000 HP. Scout Hope trying to pressure forward, but Hope has the HP lead, and he's got the bombs, and it's enough to force JDG away from the Dragon Pit.
This game is getting kind of chaotic as each of these very different compositions are trying to force their will upon the other. And I think that AL, they need to be just a wee bit more disciplined in some of the angles they're holding, but they have the harder to execute composition, just trying to, again, they have to use their range. But Hope is starting to really step up and do some significant damage in these standoffs, and I like how AL, they're starting to commit more to the standoffs, Raafaa. We saw them, you know, Otacon, Dragon, they were behind in goal, but they're committing to what their win con wants and trying to make it work. TPs are coming in.
The central charge gets interrupted. Xiaoxu now looking forward to try and punish the flashless Ziggs. Peyz steps up right behind the Aatrox. Shanks goes in with the Justice Punch, but there's no flash from Shanks. There's no hero's entrance for the retreat either. He's in a world of trouble. Peyz slices him down to size, and JDG are now 5-4 on the map.
I think you were electing kind of which member to drop there as AL. It was a very good play for the Dragon, an unwarranted push for the tower, which led to a good TP from Xiaoxu. And now this redemption being used, that's a lot of healing around the Baron. And a flip might ensue, but Hope's damage here is very significant.
They're looking for the turn. They're trying to bait them in. Flandre still has flash available, but he doesn't get a time to be able to get away. JDG turn right back onto the Baron, but now they're getting dropped low on HP bar. Scout is the target, but he goes into stasis. The death charge now gone. Tarzan forced to use the Cyclone, trying to retreat, trying to run away. Anyone's legend is able to create enough distance, and JDG have lost their window to pressure for the Baron.
They've lost their tempo. Hope has been so good on the Ziggs so far. I cannot emphasize how good Hope has been so far on the Ziggs. We know he can play it. I just want you guys to keep your eyes on Hope and the value that he gets throughout this fight. It's Shanks that gets hit early on. It's a good Super Mega Inferno Bomb. I mean, that W, watch the Ws that Hope is throwing out. It feels like a lot of them are buying space for him and the team exactly what he wants to do. As again, like the ability for Galio and Wukong to draw the circles and Hope to put down the damage is very real. I think that Shanks is playing these fights just a wee bit too fast. For me, that's kind of the difference maker in these. As he got caught out early on in this one, got caught out in the series of events that led to the Baron standoff. In the end, it is JDG pocketing gold, but AL being down gold, it still feels like they're able to play their composition. It just gets harder for them to play it. Like, the consistency of the circles they have, the range they have, and the execute, it's there, but they need the damage behind it too. And letting Ryze, Aatrox, and Xayah scale into the game, it is quite scary. There's a vamp on Peyz, which means he's going to have much better conditions throughout as he tries to survive some of this Ziggs poke.
And as you pointed out, JDG do find themselves ahead in gold, but most of it is into Peyz and Xiaoxu's pockets, which does get very dicey for anyone's legend. Later the game goes on, as that is a marksman versus no marksman difference, but anyone's legend doing everything they can to play to the outs of their win condition. They still have decent overload with their dive threats onto Peyz, but he's got Featherstorm, he's got Flash and Cleanse, back up for the next fight.
He does. Again, it's just going to be the range of Xayah versus the range of Ziggs. It's full advantage to Ziggs. So again, the DPS fights, AL, they don't want to sign up for it. They would love to sign up for the Ziggs standoff of the lifetime. As I will say, sneaky ward again from Kael.
Wow.
On this top side is, and he's starting this Baron. He's going to be spotted out by AL and JDG playing with false information here.
This is now the second game in a row where JDG think they have swept out everything from anyone's legend, but there is one ward that is just a pixel outside of the control ward that is supposed to give JDG the vision advantage.
TP is a little funky for me. I mean, they really want to play this Baron, but that does take away a lot of future power from Scout. He is 16 and can actually pressure on the side lane. He's up a full item now with that Zhonya's. The Scout's quite big on the rise.
Flandre threatening from the top side. Tarzan has Flash. He has Smite. It's less than 5k. 3k. Big Inferno Bomb into the top. Tarzan! Tarzan steals the objective away from Shun's hands. And even though Tarzan goes down, he goes down as a hero for anyone's legend. Flandre cut off from the retreat path, not able to find the recall. JDG will take 2 kills for their trouble, but not getting the Baron is gonna hurt.
I mean, there wasn't even an effort from JDG to try and find Tarzan there. He cleared a ward. He was on the top side. They didn't even try and stop him from getting into the pit. That's what tilts me. I think it's like the right call from JDG to, again, when you're up against these poke comps, you have to use the neutral objectives to bring the enemy team to you and close the gap with that range. So, like, the idea of hitting this, the idea of the realm warp afterwards is good. But they just don't care about Tarzan. Like, this is a straight flip. Zhuo, you have quickness, you have flash.
No,
go find the Wukong. And I know it just barely misses, but you're signing up for the flip. You have tools in order to guarantee that it's not a flip. They didn't even attempt to use any of those tools. That's why I'm frustrated at JDG.
And anyone's legend find themselves at Ocean's Soul Point, which is why JDG are forced to rip this objective. Anyone's legend are now given more time on the map to try and use their Baron buff to continue stalling the game out. And you think about the one objective that JDG could have been using to override the power of Hope's wave clear on this Ziggs. The fact that they don't get the Baron buff now, there's a chance for anyone's legend to do some serious damage across all of the turrets on the map.
I mean, that mid lane turret is an empowered cannon auto into a satchel charge away from dying. So, yeah. Yep. But they still have to play defense. Like, JDG, it still feels like they are, I mean, they have more gold. It feels like they are the stronger comp. It's just that AL, their comp, can play at a range and in a way around their windows that JDG can somewhat struggle against if AL plays it right. So
it just feels so bizarre that JDG are ahead in gold, and yet it feels like they're the ones playing up the hill, that they are the ones playing from behind.
I mean, we've started to see a lot of Ziggs in the Xayah, especially in LCK. Like, I think KT used it to beat Gen G in one of those games. I like this matchup a lot. I think that my whole theory into Xayah, if I see Xayah early in draft, is I want to take range. I want to take ways that, you know, it forces out Xayah's R, then she doesn't line up for these big rips. I mean, Ziggs fits perfectly into that. I mean, auto attack and the satchel charge and a dead
Kael leads the charge. Shun getting knocked up in the bounce house. It's actually Xiaoxu that falls and no chance to pop the world ender. The big carry top laner for JDG is the first one to fall, and anyone's legend looking very hopeful about their chances to continue the siege in the mid lane.
I mean, Xiaoxu just too far up. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's been a really good series from him so far, Raafaa, but that's a big mistake. Going to allow for AL to continue this Baron push. As, Hope, I mean, a few auto attacks away from pretty much knocking this one down, and Peyz, his conditions being chipped away. He does have access to Vamp when he gets the wave, but not when there's no wave, so. Well played by Hope and well played by AL. Again, this is a clash of styles of compositions, guys, so AL, they love the standoffs, whereas JDG have to find ways to close the gap. It's been fun to see both these teams go toe-to-toe. It has been the cleanest game, but for sure I've seen attempts from each team to kind of assert their style, assert their will on the other.
I think it just speaks volumes, though, about anyone's legend's resilience and their tenacity in this game. The fact that they've been behind on the gold advantage for a majority of this second game, and yet they're the ones feeling like they're dictating the pace of the game. They're the ones forcing JDG into these desperate map plays, these maneuvers. And anyone's legend continue to reap the rewards of it. They're the ones coming out on top of it. And JDG, even though we talked about the scaling aspects of this composition, that Xayah can still make a big difference in just being a marksman champion and anyone's legend not having one. The way that anyone's legend has played this out, it's just phenomenal.
It has been fun to, I mean, it hasn't been perfect. It's been a toughie from Flandre, but I think Hope has been phenomenal in his own right, for sure. And again, it's a clash of styles. I mean, Hope is the carry that AL puts a lot of faith in to execute. Hope did execute well on the last late game, as that is a single ult from Hope, and that is a half HP Peyz. Again, he does have the Vamp to try and bounce back from this one, but that is the threat of this late game Ziggs, and the damage that Hope can do. I mean, he brought the Morellonomicon, which I gotta say, given the healing of the Xayah, given the healing of Redemption, given the healing of Aatrox, is, I think, quite worth this game. And yeah, I mean, I just want to see like what Hope can get done, because I'm expecting to see a last item death cap. He could go for the Zanyas, but might as well just go Glass Cannon while your conditions are up, and let's see what you can do, man. He's been doing a lot of work in this game.
Peyz has definitely found ways to bring a game from the jaws of defeat just by going on the aggressive. Make Inferno Bomb. Doesn't hit the sweet spot, but still a solid chunk onto Peyz's health bar there. Already brought down from a quarter of his full health bar.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw a locket used from Zhuo. He has it in the inventory. It wasn't used there. But Jun going in.
Tries to look for the engage.
I don't love that. Yeah.
I mean, Crescent Guard is now expended. Anyone's Legend having not necessarily a full ultimate advantage, but that's 1-for-1 so far.
There's a world where if you're Kael, I mean, you can really look for a play here. As
he's not necessarily disconnected here. Now trying to target Flandre here, brought down below 50% HP, but he just uses the slice and dice to get over the Raptor pit wall. Tarzan now looks for the Cyclone. Scout forced to go into the stasis. Another Mega Inferno Bomb over the top. Peyz doing everything he can to put a bunch of feathers into this front line, but
Shanks
anyone's Legend have the momentum, and they're the ones pushing JDG out of their own jungle quadrant. Shanks on the forefront, looks for the engage. Peyz goes into the air with a Feather Storm, and now it's Tarzan on the flank. Peyz is able to eliminate him, but he's still got a GA. Flandre trying to pressure him out. Peyz, it's all on you, my friend. Peyz, can he find a miracle here? But not a chance. Hope blows him to smithereens, and anyone's Legend continue the victory rally.
Dude, this is like watching Mike Trout on the Angels as Scout TPs straight to his death, scoots his way to another gray screen. And man, I mean, JDG just came falling apart at the seams, Raafaa. Like, I don't, that fight they took, I don't see the theory behind it. That was so random to me. And it was AL who, it was split on the terrain with that ramp into the Raptors. They commit to one side of the fight, and they end up winning out despite what I thought was an insane fight from Peyz. He just can't do enough in this game, and now that you're giving a Ziggs comp in Ocean Soul, there is never going to be a world where AL is not fighting with the conditions they want for the rest of this game.
I know the game is not over yet, Matt, but if we go to a game 3, I want the draft to respect more on Peyz's agency and ability to play this game for JDG, because this second draft has been so difficult for him to play out.
I mean, like, watch Peyz in this fight. Like, he has such a good one. I love the cancel that Zhuo has onto the Galio there, but they lost so much damage just committing to try and find Hope in the choke. As Hope didn't even need to flash himself out. It just had enough space. Peyz couldn't reach. And again, as long as you keep the Ziggs and the Xayah on opposite sides of the fight, the Ziggs can always pressure the Xayah. The Xayah can never pressure the Ziggs. And once AL were able to kind of get back to their formation, Hope throws a little LeBron James alley-oop over to Peyz. I guess we'll use two different sports for an analogy. And then Scout decides to donate one more for the cause. As
you know, the funny thing is, Matt, when you go back to Split 1, when JDG were, I think, at their peak form, even Split 2 early on. Hang on, I'll hold that point. Flandre getting isolated by the rest of JDG, and Tarzan is just going to go and cut the wave. Hang on. He's got an Ocean Soul, but he's at least able to just distract JDG, because the rest of his team is saying, I mean, cool, you got our Renekton, but we are opening up the base on the top side. Now, the rest of JDG are forced in a position where they have to force. They have the numbers advantage here, but this Ziggs is creating enough distance with the power of these explosive mines. They can't even look for an engage.
Flandre continues to have a happy game. All good within the team. He did play that last fight really well. I think the couple of fights the AL has won, Flandre has done his job in terms of taking up space, but yeah, he's definitely playing a Renekton that's behind and whose job is to tank a very far ahead Xayah, which is not easy.
Definitely not a job that I envy there. It's a good look from JDG.
The Realm Warp's been good from Scout. It's just that some of the team fights he has not navigated that well in the back half.
Yep. As I was trying to say earlier, Matt, it's funny that when you think about some of the early adopters of Ziggs and LPL, Peyz was one of them. And I affectionately gave him the codename LeBron Peyz, as he was able to find many of his dunks. But Hope has been able to put on a hell of a Ziggs performance in his own right, so...
Oh, man. You know what you got to call Peyz? A little bit of NBA throwback. Gary Payton Jr., his nickname was The Hand, because he was so good at defense. It should have been, you know, Gary Payton. Not as famous, but The Hand. Kind of sick if you're a League player, you know. Knight's the golden left hand. What's Peyz? Besides Peyz, pal, which, I mean, if we want to get into that, maybe he's
NBA
like...
knowledge is so limited, like, LeBron James and Kobe are like the extent of it, and Michael Jordan.
That's fine. You know,
maybe Allen Iverson, you know, but that's like a ball hog kind of affiliation there.
I was about to make a JDG, you know, Peyz pal joke with like Steve Ballmer, Kawhi Leonard, and what's going on. You have no idea what's going on there.
Flandre,
though.
Might be caught up. The Redemption does a lot of work in the Ocean Soul. Heals him up. He still survives. Are you kidding me? Peyz is forced to go up the air with the Feather Storm. Can he put out the damage? He's trying to shred with the Feathers. Shanks is standing up as the main front line as he goes into stasis at the right time, preserves his life, and he still has a TP to rejoin with the team.
And Peyz continues to have really nice fights. Got out of both Tarzan and Shanks there. The combo in the back line. A tip assist from Shun as well. But it just doesn't matter. AL, they have the Ocean Soul. They have the Ziggs. The conditions are still fine. They can continue to siege. They've already taken one inhibitor. Make that two. And honestly, looking at 3 here.
Maybe not just yet here for anyone's Legend. They have a minion wave they have to kill first. And the rest of JDG are committed to try and defend this wave from crashing, but anyone's Legend are slowly undermining JDG's base.
Again, like for JDG, I mean, this is a game that you're going to look at the scoreboard after the first 2 games, Raafaa, and be like, man, if you didn't watch this series, like, this is a pretty close series. I mean, these are going 40+ minutes. Kills are being traded back and forth. But if you watch the tape of these games, I mean, I don't think that AL has been out of control for more than 20% of this series. Like, I just think that the way that AL have been able to play their comps, play their win cons, it's been like such clearly better setups to me. And when JDG has gotten ahead, I feel like it's been more so off of mistakes from AL than off of good plays by JDG. I will get, like, the last sequence they had at game 1 was a really good sequence from JDG that punished AL when they did get split off. So I thought it was well executed. Like, there have been some well executed realm warps for Scout to find numbers, but outside of those tools, I mean, what sort of fight have we seen where JDG is like, wow, like this was taken, you know, on your conditions where you were favored heading into this fight? I don't feel like we've seen any of those fights that have existed unless it's like a mistake from AL that leads to JDG having positive numbers.
I mean, for JDG in the prior series where they found themselves victorious and advancing to this point in the lower bracket, JDG, even if the angle looks suspicious, everyone commits, everyone is confident in the move or the engage that they go for. And JDG are able to pull out a lot of these miracle fights that have no business in being winning ones. But a majority of this series, JDG, I feel like they've been directionless. I feel like they've been nowhere near as confident as they have been in prior series. Shun has had to be the leader for this team. That we got praise from both Clearlove and Zhuo on this guy stepping up and trying to be the captain, the leader for this squad, but Tarzan has just been a much more decisive jungler and leader for the squad on the other side of the rift here.
It's not just Tarzan, like it's also been I think that Zhuo's been okay so far in the series, but I don't see him leading the charge. He's kind of playing follow-up in Rakan. I do think it's a really hard game to operate as Rakan. I just want to see more good plays from Scout. Like, I think that Scout had that one good angle around the Baron. It's the only time I can think of a winning fight for JDG. And now, I mean, you have to charge into an Ocean Soul Ziggs comp that they see you bot wave. Watch how Hope plays this wave, by the way. He's going to kill this whole wave from, like, over the wall. They never even have to, like, seed this choke, seed this vision.
He's forced to try and help defend Tarzan from getting collapsed upon. Decent play from JDG trying to set up the waves here.
I mean, is this real? And JDG is almost forced to pressure this or else they eat Ziggs poke.
Oh, boy.
So they're forced into bad conditions.
I mean, this Elder Flip could change the entire state of this game. It could seal the demise of JDG, or it could be their redemption, as one is already burned.
No redemption
just to
for
give
JDG.
Xiaoxu a little bit of extra healing. Still nearly 10,000 HP on the Elder Dragon, and anyone's Legend now trying to burn it down. The engage comes through, massive cyclone onto the back line. Peyz goes in the air with a Feather Storm. Shanks follows up with a knock-up. Peyz is trying to fire as many feathers as he can. Flandre steps up, tries to zone him away. Flash stun, that gets the cleanse out of Peyz. He's able to get one rip. Peyz is still surviving. He's still trying to fire as many feathers as he can. Hope is still chucking bombs from a safe distance, and Peyz cannot step up anymore in the fight. He's leaning on Zhuo for assistance as Shanks and the rest of anyone's Legend bully JDG out of the river.
The trigger pull isn't great for JDG, and AL have been the one dictating the fights. It's been the Wukong and the Galio over the top, and Peyz cannot play these fights well enough to win his team the game. As Peyz, I thought Peyz had a great game, Raafaa. He's just going to go down. It just is what it is. Demise of JDG as AL looking to go up 2-0.
Peyz did everything he could, and it just simply wasn't enough to overcome the much better coordination and the much better teamwork from anyone's Legend as they now head to match point 2-0 in the series.
And I know that we came into this one with you know, kind of building up the story of Tarzan and Peyz are the two titans of these teams, have been the best performers throughout the year. I think it's been the series of Hope so far. Yeah. Hope has been so good in these first two games, and I really want to praise the role players around AL and how they've played to support Hope, because it feels like both of those compositions, it was Hope, like he was the person that the entire comp was built around. Whether it was the Yunara and the Ziggs, the way that Hope played at such a high level, I mean, he died 3 times in the Yunara game. He didn't die once in the Ziggs game there. But also the pieces around him. Like, how easy are these fights when you have Tarzan and Shanks buying this much space? It really is something to watch AL firing on all cylinders. And just, I think that the stuff they're punishing JDG on is really simple. Like, when we dive back in through the replays, we're going to see JDG get split around terrain, AL pick one side of the fight, and fully commit there. I think that that's what dictated a lot of the fights in this game, and what had JDG just come up short.
It speaks volumes about anyone's Legends' current state and mentality when they're able to give a lot of trust from their star carries in Tarzan and Shanks, who at the peak of anyone's Legends season here in 2025, those two have been the ones dictating and getting a lot of the star recognition when you think about their performances at MSI against Gen G and T1. But Hope has always been a secret killer carry, the one that can step up when his team needs him the most, and anyone's Legend are fully trusting him in tonight's best of 5.
I think that, I mean, that's big. Hope has been huge tonight. Fully agree with that, Raafaa. I think we also have to hit on that other story, though, with, I'll talk about role players, right? Yeah. I think that Xiaoxu has had a couple of good moments, hasn't been able to convert it into a good game. Zhuo has been, I think, okay today. Shun has not been okay today. He didn't hit the Baron Smite. I thought that his early game in the Pantheon game 1 was poor. And Tarzan has been, he was the MVP of game 1, and it was another standout here in the Wukong game here. We couldn't see Shun get things going with that Xin Zhao. And he's been kind of invisible on 2 enabling champions. I'm wondering if it's time to get him a Nidalee game, a Kindred game. Go back to that well of comfort that Queerlove, one of the most successful junglers in LPL history, recognizes as being a true strength for his jungler in JDG.
I just have to say, Matt, for the way that some of these drafts have played out, obviously the Pantheon was a big takeaway from anyone's Legend. You do not want to give that into Tarzan's hands. I agree for sure. Unfortunately, Shun did not get the impact that you want to see from a champion like that, where you are so, especially after the nerfs that he's received, you're so much more dependent on snowballing the game and getting ahead of the curve, because your utility just is so much lacking. It's lacking so much compared to what some of the other junglers that are offered in comparison.
I feel so bad for Peyz, man.
Dude, he is doing almost 50% of his team's damage.
It's more understanding for Hope, because you're playing Ziggs, and like, this is what your team does. And Peyz, I just watch these fights from Peyz. He's playing these fights so well. He really, like, I cannot ask more of my marksman. I do not know what Queerlove says to Peyz behind the scenes, besides like, you aren't tilted yet, right, buddy?
Yeah.
I don't know, I can play these fights better. I really don't.
I'm at a loss for words, Matt. Because when you look at how much more intensive the fights are for Peyz, whereas Hope is just benefiting from being.
I think Hope. I don't want to take anything away from Hope. Hope had a great game. His skill shots were awesome. Yeah.
Nothing that we say should be discrediting what Hope is doing in these games. But I think we can be fair and say that Peyz has a much more difficult job to perform based on what he had to play into in this game too.
I feel like I'm watching the 85 Michael Jordan Bulls, and it's just him and Plumbers. But frankly, I just,
this is literally the epitome of the meme.
It's him and Plumbers, man.
It's no help for Peyz.
God. Poor Peyz, man. Like, again, I'm watching Peyz in all these fights. He plays these fights so well. I think that Shun did a decent job appealing him in a couple moments. I'll give Shun that. Definitely caught a moment there. But you just cannot ask for more out of Peyz in these fights, and it just doesn't matter for JDG. Like, their star player has been stepping up, but hey, sometimes role players are the ones that win championships, Raafaa. And it was JDG that tried to change out the role players to find the right mix to win a championship here. Yeah. And here's their role player in Scout, their other star, just being overvalued a little bit as he gives one away. Where were you chuckling at there, boss?
I'm just thinking to myself, if someone had the audacity watching this game and going, "Oh, Peyz, you should have dodged that last X bomb." Just screw you, dude. Like, what does Peyz have to do more in trying to uplift his team and bring them back from the brink.
If you speak of Peyz in any tongues, any words that is not praise and feeling legitimately bad for this guy and what he did, in the wrong in this one. I thought, yeah, Peyz had, I mean, he was really good. It's actually really, it's so fun because, like, I mean, I think that, like, a big theory I've had for a long time in League of Legends is that at, like, the highest level of League of Legends, you need an AD carry that is at least, like, absurdly good enough to compete with the people that are elite at that role.
Yes.
The fact that Peyz came out as a 17-year-old and, like, year one was like, yeah, I can compete. Like, I'm a rookie. I'm on Gen G. Rulers go, I'm here instead. Like, I can compete with the best of them. I think that that's just so sick from Peyz. And the fact that, like, he's just played his ass off in a team that has just been, like, criminally dysfunctional. While Peyz, I feel like Smurfs, like, 80% of the times we see him on the Rift. It makes me feel, it's actually just Mike Trout and the Angels. I actually just feel really bad for this. Like, his talent is just straight up being wasted here, man. I don't know. I do not know what else to say. The prime of Peyz's career is just being thrown away in JDG. Get this man some help. That's not Peyz? I thought it was going to be Peyz. It was Hope. Deservedly so for Hope. Yeah.
I mean, if you could give an award to the least deserving of a loss to a player in JDG, it would 100% be Peyz. This guy needs JDG to lock the frick in so that he can at least have a fighting chance to make it back against anyone's legend. And remember, folks, if anyone's legend wins here tonight, they advance for a chance to face top esports. Winning that series automatically qualifies them to Worlds and advances them to the grand finals. For JDG, if it's a loss here, they're going to have to take their chances for a race to Worlds through the regional finals gauntlet. But that is game 2 wrapped up here. Match point for anyone's legend. We'll see you on the other side for game 3.